The announcement of the pending closure of the processing center here at Cherrybell and in Tucson is devastating news in many ways, not only economically for the people that work there, their livelihoods and their ability to take care of their families, but also devastating economically in the long term for the community in itself. We have questioned the methodology that they've used. We're part of legislation with Representative Waters that will deal with, before you do anything, factor in the population growth in the highest growing states and communities in the country, of which we are one. As they're talking about $14 million in particular to this closure, there is a corresponding loss of revenue and economic growth in this community that needs to be balanced with what they believe the savings to be. All along, we have been part of an effort in Congress. 115 of my colleagues have signed letters urging Donahue and the Postal Commission and the Director, Postmaster General, to factor all these issues in. No closure should occur, or should USPS be allowed to conduct any closure that breaks any labor agreement, and the inevitability of those agreements being broken is absolutely true. The pre-clearance issue on the Voting Rights Act for the state of Arizona. We're what states that requires pre-clearance, and to make arbitrary decisions that are going to affect the ability of people to access and be able to participate in our democratic process, i.e. voting, has voting rights implications that before any decision is made, they have to be calculated. The legislation we are saying is that you must factor population growth into any consolidation or closure. H.R. 1351 takes a big step in making the Postal Service treat in a fair and equitable manner the pension obligation and the recalculation of that. And for employees, that has been the issue that has driven part of this effort. H.R. 1262 would make necessary changes to all USPS operations in a couple of ways. When we are talking potentially down the road of 2 to 3 day bail services for this community, I don't think we deserve second-class status in the state at all.
Let me start by saying that I'm extremely disappointed in the Postal Service's announcement. Disappointed really on two fronts. First, it was made clear to us at the public hearing that the Postal Service was going to honor the moratorium and wait for Congress before they made certain decisions, and that is on May 15th, and yet here they are into February. Now maybe that's a mixed blessing in the sense that we now know we really need to get to work. The other portion that I was very disappointed with was the release that indicated that somehow the only impact on our community is going to be taking Postal Service from 1 day to 2 days. And that is going to change our bulk mail delivery services as well, which includes prescriptions, which includes Social Security checks, which most of all impacts our business community and really is going to, could perhaps affect a lot of the economic progress we've made in this community over the last year. This is not a partisan issue. This is a bipartisan issue. I have been hearing from many of my Republican friends in the community. I've been hearing from the business community in particular about the impact on their businesses. 4.3 cents more per bulk mail package, which for businesses is extremely devastating. And the implicit assumption in the statement made by the Postal Service that it won't affect bulk mail is that all the bulk mail carriers are going to move to Phoenix, well that impacts our community, and that all of us are going to drive to Phoenix to deliver our mail up there. The Congressman is absolutely correct. There are a number of things that Congress can do to solve this problem. The first is to look at the Pension Reform Act for the Postal Service. That in and of itself will go a long way towards solving the problem. The bill that's going to be introduced in Congress, hopefully the first of next week, having to deal with taking into effect growth areas and taking into effect economically hurt areas by this, is also very important. So my message to the community is for Tucson, and we need to come together on this. Representative Grijalva is obviously at the front of this. We need to write to Senator McCain. We need to write to Senator Kyle. We need to write to Representative Pastor, who is our neighbor just to the north, who is very much our ally, and who sits on the Appropriations Committee. And we need all of these, along with any other congressperson you have a relationship with. If you come from Wisconsin, write to your senator from Wisconsin. Say, I'm in Arizona now. This is how it's going to affect us. This is a issue that is our forefront, not for the city, but for our valley as a whole.
As a native Tucsonan, I've watched this community grow, and we all know it's going to be growing, and there's nothing that we can stop about it. This just does not impact just southern Arizona. It impacts the whole state of Arizona, because we're dealing, number one, with Native Americans. We have Navajo, we have Apache. We also have to think about our outlying areas, where we have here in southern Arizona, we have Arivaca, 3 Points. We walk out our front door, we go to our mailbox, and we get it. Most of these areas do not have street addresses. They have communities where they have their P.O. boxes, and where they actually go once a week to pick up their mail. Those are the ones that will be truly impacted on it, because they don't have what we take normally as a convenience. The post office in Phoenix cannot handle, just from two customers, 1.5 million ballots. They just can't handle that. So what we do is we send, and it's also cheaper for me to hire a truck and bring those ballots down here and put them into the local processing center so that they're expedited quickly. Well, then you have all the candidates dropping all their mail as they're chasing these ballots. It's a compounded effect. It's going to change our voting requirements. It's going to change how it impacts the everyday citizen. It's going to impact on delay of delivery of information to the citizens. Voting material gets shipped out at a reduced rate because the Act of Congress says you will treat that as a nonprofit. Well, if they have this bulk of mail coming into Phoenix, are they going to take care of our voting material that's being processed at a reduced rate, or are they going to take care of their bread and butter customers that are paying the full boat? Nobody can give us that answer. It's just not your ballot. It's your publicity pamphlets. It's your sample ballots that comes out all at the same time. We're all required to drop on the same day. That's what the Arizona state statutes require of us. We have 250,000 registered voters that are already signed up for the permanent early voting. We also had several school districts. They elected to do all ballot by mail, because what they're finding out, besides the cost impact, is they're voting by mail because they like it, the convenience of voting at home. Some people thought I was too premature about writing my letter to the Department of Justice. I wanted to be proactive. It is my job to protect and make sure that we have equality for all citizens, no matter where you live, in doing this process. And any help that you can do to, if you know colleagues that are in other counties and other state representatives, this is going to impact their voters too, no matter how they're going to do it. One processing center cannot handle it all for the entire state of Arizona.
I'm very disappointed on the notification they received yesterday that they're going to go ahead and attempt to close this plant. On December 28th, when they brought this out for a public hearing, we had over 600 folks come and attend during the Christmas holiday season, telling them this was the wrong idea. We've had an online petition continually sending messages to the governor, the board members, and the postmaster, saying over 1,000 folks have already signed the online petition telling them this is a bad idea. Yet they still went ahead and moved without really listening to the people. Voting by mail that the city just went to, enacted, that's going to be impacted by this. I want to publicly thank our congressman for taking the lead on this and the charge. Not only does it affect Tucson, but Douglas, Agua Prieta, Nogales, Green Valley, Marana are all going to be impacted by these. And our seniors. My mother relies on her check, Social Security check, to come once a month. And also the medications that come by the mail to her. How is that going to be impacted? I want to thank Mayor Rothschild. He just came into office, and immediately we took steps as a city council and as the mayor to get this thing and to say no, that we want you to reconsider this.
What's going to happen is that we're going to have a two-tier system if this goes into effect. Maricopa County will have one tier, and the rest of the state will have another tier. And that first tier will be overnight service. Nothing happens there. They'll have exactly what they've always had. In the rest of the state, there'll be 2- and 3-day service, and in the rural areas, maybe 4 and 5 day service. 400 jobs or 300, whatever it is, losses to the community in which we live is significant. Those dollars will be gone, and that's the end of it. We don't need that. At a time when our economies are struggling the way they are, we need every single job that we can possibly have, and to maintain those jobs for the national economy as well as the area economy. And the issue of the Native American lands is really very significant. People don't really understand sometimes how significant that can be. Approximately 1 million Southern Arizonians will pay the price for this. At a time, I might remind you, when the Postal Service just increased the price of postage. So we're going to pay first-class rates for second-class service is what it comes down to.